say not be in favor of that. But that's where we can have more problems. And that's one reason why concealed weapon permits for this community. But prohibited from bars and as you call them, honky-tonks. But I would have to believe that.
I actually got a different view. I actually think I'm in favor of it. The reason why I'm kind of in favor a little bit of the bars, I'd have to look at it more seriously about at the level of the bar level and that. I'd be worried about opening up that if it passes and the people who got the license, they should be responsible, whether it's a bar, a restaurant, a business, or such things like that. So that's kind of my stance. I'd have to look at it to see where's the limitations at? What limitations are going to put on it? I'm always worried about when we start adding new laws and new limitations, whose opinion is it? How is it going to be changed down the road? But I would really have to look at it, and my theory behind it, if the person's got a concealed weapons permit, obviously they've registered it, they're a responsible person, they should know better, and they need to make judgment calls. It's no different than going into that bar, drinking too much. They should know whether or not, when, and when to drive away from the bar.
Yeah. Sheriff, can you kind of give your perspective on the problems with jails and the plan going forward? I think some of it's budgetary and otherwise.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I was glad to read a letter to the editor of the Berkeley Independent this past week, which was signed by 5 county council members who recognized that problem. We have been overcrowded at the detention facility for a number of years, and I talked to various sheriffs throughout the state. Say, as soon as you build a new jail, it becomes overcrowded. A lot of sense to that. We asked for an expansion back many years ago. I think we finally got it through about 6 years ago. It was completed like 3 years ago. Built a little bit larger than what we had originally asked for. But I thought it was a wise decision the council did while construction costs were down. Because, I don't know whether you know it or not, but Berkeley County is the 30th fastest growing county in the United States of America. The fastest growing in South Carolina. Well, the problem came in was after the facility was constructed, we didn't have the proper amount of detention officers to man the facility. We moved into the added space. And so council gave us 7 new detention officers in that budget. And I don't think you'll mind me telling you this, but I've spoken with Mr. Callahan and Mr. Gunn, who chairs Justice and Public Safety Committee, which is my and they plan on working with us in the future to put some more in by increments so we can go ahead and move in the rest of the facility. The problem right now, too, is we're not having the proper amount of detention officers. It puts them in just 2. Of course, with 1 detention officer per X amount of inmates. And we have a lot of pretrial inmates in there right now. I think in excess of 10 of them charged with murder. So, I mean, it's a terrible situation, but I see what council is getting working on. Thank you for the question.
The jail, I mean, I don't know all the budgetary. I'm not privy to a lot of that when it took place for the jail and such things. But to me, I think when the jail was built, it would have made more sense at that time to put the manpower in part of the budget. I think how it also covered it is I would expand that I would ask for the budget to cover the manpower for the 3 years. And what that does is that 3 years is going to give us a growth period to where it'll allow us to grow into it. So as the county grows, like the sheriff was saying, it's one of the fastest growing counties in the country. As the county starts taking more money, then we know we can absorb that extra manpower to the detention center. It hasn't made any sense to me that the jail's been sitting there for the last 3 years. I think they just started using the bottom floor mid last year. It's almost like a battleship being built for the Navy, and then after it's completed, then say, all right, now we need sailors for it. So that's where I stand.
Can I add to that? Sure. He brought up a valid point about asking for the detention officer to move the facility. We did. It was in every proposed budget. We were told by the South Carolina Department of Corrections how many we needed. We put that in the proposed budget, and we're not ready those positions. But I understand that the proposed budget that we put in for was not forwarded all to all the council members, so they weren't aware of exactly what we need. Again, I can relate that argument. Now they are. We got a group of them that are working with us to get that taken care of. I'm sure you'll agree with me. If we got some violent offenders in there, we need them in there. And we need to have the proper amount of detention officers to take care of them while they're there. They will run back out on the street. So we have to have 400 to 500 in there. We can make it work.
So Sheriff, the supervisor didn't include in his budget, is what you're saying?
That's correct. It was not passed on to council.
Thank you.
We've got a number of murders in nightclubs in Berkeley County last year. Does the owner of a nightclub have some responsibility to keep the peace, or is it, what can be done about it?
We'll let Brian well, I'm not sure about the Berkeley County ordinance, and Sheriff probably correct me. I don't know if they have a 2 o'clock closing or a 4 o'clock closing. 2 o'clock, okay. So what I would do then, because it's important, I'm glad it's at 2, because North Charleston 2, Charleston County I think just went to 2. I think Dorchester's still open to 4. So you wanted at 2, or else you're going to get the influx of everybody coming north from Charleston City, Charleston County, and everything, and coming up. So what you'd have to do then, you have to start working with the other departments within the county. Every time the sheriff's office gets dispatched there, they do a report, whether it's an assault, a fight, shooting, stabbing, causing too much noise to the neighbors who are in the area. You start taking that to your business licensing area. Start working with them, and start, if you can, get their business license revoked to close them down.
The county does not do business licenses. But we work it through ABC, the Alcohol and Beverage Control Commission. And what we do when we have clubs or we have numerous amounts of those type of violent incidences, the shootings and what have you, I can recollect right now there was one over in Lansing called a Bada Bing. Am I correct, Rick? And we have several there. We put together a court order through administrative services with ABC, had it signed by a judge and closed it down. We were on the verge of getting one closed up that Sam Rivers was concerned about on Red Bank Road called Pilates or something right there across from Goose Creek High School. The owner of the place knew we were in the process of doing that, so he went ahead and just closed the doors. But there is a way you can do it and get it done administratively by court order.
Okay. Sheriff, first of all, I want to thank you for your offer of support for the local, local law enforcement when when we lost 2 officers due to a domestic incident. All of the law enforcement agencies thought that's a successful conclusion. I would like to know what your goals are for the next 4 years for improvement of your department, and Mr. Adams, what would be your goal?
Of course, one of the main issues is increased manpower on county roads. As you have more population, you automatically have more problems. We hope to put together a few more specialized teams in the county, as we've done in previous years, to handle specific types of crimes. The jail is one of the issues, as we all know, and as I related to earlier, I think we got a council now that we will be able to work with. So hopefully that's in the future. Want to expand on working relationships with all the other agencies. We started a little thing, simple as it may seem, but called Chief Becker, Chief Caldwell, the new chief over in Hanahan a couple of years ago, and we started now having little cookouts, like every 3 months, just to get the command staff together to share information. And that's one of the most important things in law enforcement, is the sharing of information, because Al Cannon and I have talked about this many times. Unfortunately, criminals don't have jurisdictional boundaries, but we do. So it is very important that we communicate with each other, and we do that on a regular basis. The sheriffs and the chiefs in the Tri-County area, we have a record. I'm going to say that pretty much. Basic sharing information background.
I agree. we definitely need to get some more manpower in the street. I think patrol's got to be number one. That's the most important. We have to get patrol. That's the most important thing to get on the street, because that's the first line of defense against crime prevention, any sort of solvability, as well as attacking the crime. So that to me is the most important. Let's get the patrol on the street. Some of the things that I think I would look for more supervisors to be working supervisors. Now, I don't want to say that they're not working. What I mean by that is, you've got some departments that are large enough where they can have supervisors who don't have cages in cars, such as things like that. When the supervisor doesn't have a cage in the car, when they go or just get dispatched to a call, they have to make an arrest. They have to call in another deputy. That deputy has to transport the person to jail. There's plenty of supervisors on the road that would actually assist so it's not like there would be no supervisors on the road if that supervisor had to transport somebody to jail. So that's what I mean by working supervisors. There's plenty of sergeants where they can come in, we put cages in the car, and they can transport their own guys. So that would take away from the other deputies. I also agree with working with other agencies. I work with other agencies all the time, from federal agencies to other local agencies around the area. What I would like to do as the sheriff, work with the narcotics unit and start working with the other agencies. Get other agencies to sign under MOUs, memorandum of understanding, to where they assign some of their officers maybe to the task force under the sheriff's office, and they can start working with them for some of the drugs, the meth labs and things such as that nature. So I would agree. I'd keep going, working with them. I'd keep working and doing the meetings with all the other agencies to keep that relationship going. And but that's how we go.
Wait, you got time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Revisiting the firearms in restaurants that serve alcohol, I'm interested in how either of you are going to feel after you retire, because I'm sure you're aware that under the Federal Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, that retired police officers, even though they qualify yearly to carry across state lines, that they're still subject to having to disarm anywhere that, even this building right here. A retired police officer can't carry a firearm into this building right here because it has a sign on the door. So I'm interested in how y'all are going to feel after y'all eventually retire about that.
Right. I'm still going to be saying, if you got a concealed weapons permit, I believe you should be responsible enough to carry it. So, I mean, my stance would still be the same one.
I feel like any retired law enforcement officer, if he was allowed to carry that weapon while he was working, should be allowed to carry it whenever he retires. And I think, going back a little bit, we're related to the home talk. My problem with that is, alcohol does something to the mind that certain other drugs do not, and it takes away rationalism for one thing. So I think you'd be prone to have more incidents in those type of places, whether a person's got a concealed weapons permit or not. You're acting under the influence. Just like you get behind the wheel of the vehicle, you're under the influence. Normally you drive the car well, but when you're under the influence, it's a different manner. My take on it is the same thing in the bar.
But there's no alcohol imbibed. That's somebody carrying a concealed weapons permit, when they go into an alcohol location that does not serve alcohol, they're not going to imbibe to start with. So neither.
I don't have a problem if they don't serve the alcohol.
Wade and Nancy.
Okay, Wayne, Ryan, as sheriff, what would you do to implement procedures to make sure the senior citizens are looked after at all times, especially this past week in our county when we had this high storm? Would you do anything at all over just normal thing? Are you got any plans to make sure that the senior citizens out in the county are looked after in someone point?
Yes, sir. I would like to, Sheriff Cannon actually opened up this detention center during the winter when that ice storm came through, just for people who maybe didn't have proper heat in their house, or they didn't have any structure to go to, So yeah, I think it's important to reach out to the senior citizens in that, but there's other ways of reaching out to them, like for crime or anything's going on in your neighborhood. There's a couple different ways, whether if you have an influx of burglaries in a neighborhood, for instance, when a deputy comes in and takes a report, there's nothing saying he can't talk to other residents in that area if they're there and let them know of the crime taking place, and maybe if they're not, put a door hanger on the door. Also, you can use, there's so much smart technology now between iPads and iPhones. There's ways out there, there's other agencies doing it around the country that take it, and when you get, if a burglary occurs in a neighborhood, it comes up on your iPad or iPhone, or you can email from it saying you have burglaries in your neighborhood to help out. So I think there's all sorts of ways you can reach out to senior citizens and anybody that lives in those communities.
As I know he's aware, we have a raves online system now. We're not discreet about crimes that occur in neighborhoods. We want you to know what's happening in your neighborhoods. And we have a raves online on our website where you can just click on, put where you live, and you can see what crimes are actually happening in your neighborhoods. And this is not, I'm glad you asked that question, Wade, because I've been pondering this for a while too, about a sign-in sheet with senior citizens doing an advertisement and periodically have some of these same volunteers that work with. Do we have no problems getting volunteers in the office to call and check on them periodically? The door hanger's not a bad idea. Now, Barbara, I'm going to look at you back there. We had a storm last year. Who called to check and make sure you were already home knowing that your husband had passed away?
You always call.
Okay. All right. I try to remember, but I can't remember all. But I think it would be a good program to put in place. Great question. Wade, that'll give me another challenge to work with. Thank you.
I'm sort of often haunted by a cold case that happened in Berkeley County many years ago, that Justin Turner case. And I wonder, do we have any type of cold case program in place in Berkeley County? And if not, is there a plan for one?
We do. We're still looking at that case. I'll tell you something that I don't think will jeopardize the investigation of the case, but that the parents of the child, the deceased child, moved to the upstate. And the female has now actually had a name change. But we still siphon through some of the information we have. And there's one key contact who was a small child there at the bus stop the same day, who we tried to reach out to talk to, that just for some reason didn't want to talk to us. So this brings back traumatic memories, doesn't want to go through it. There's another special case that I'm very interested in, and that was the death of a lady in Hanahan, a murder, a break-in and murder of a lady in Hanahan back in 1984, who I knew. And her daughter's been to see me. And we took out the old case file, working with Chief Cochran in Hanahan. And actually, I think we have discovered that some DNA in the file that we may be able to use. We understood that the perpetrator, when he committed the crime, the daughter was at home and he scratched her. Apparently Hanahan did at that time scrape under the nails. So we have that. And Chief Cochran has forwarded that. So hopefully we'll get a break in that case right now. A number of suspects. I read through that entire file myself. Crime Stoppers had so many names called in, and some of them I looked at, I said, there could be a very likely candidate who had committed that crime. So, you know, we do have somewhat of a cold case unit. A lot of times people call in and inquire about a cold case. I got a letter in the mail this past week from a young lady in Columbia who lost her brother here about 8 years ago. Still a cold case. We got her coming in next Tuesday, I believe, to interview her, and still got another person of interest we need to interview. So we don't just brush them under the table.
I agree. You have to keep working, because you never know when those cases are going to have new information come in. And when you collect DNA from 10 years ago, and if something pops up 10 years later, and then it makes a hit, then yes, you always keep those cases going. And when the new things pop up, fingerprints, you commit a crime today, you got his fingerprint, it's not registered, and he might not do it again until another 10, 15 years, and it pops up. So that always work those cases, yes.
One more question.
Who was the deputy saved all his lives the other day? When your deputy sheriff went and knocked on the doors in Woodmere Apartments?
I can't recall their name right now.
Mazzell.
And we got 3 Mazzells working for us. Yeah, but that was him, very smart. Thought very quickly, and yeah, he did save lives, Charlie. You're absolutely correct. But, let me tell you, we got a lot of energetic young people out there working. I know it's a different generation than when I came through the ranks, but our salaries really aren't, and I'm getting on a different subject, compared to some of the other local agencies. Ours are a little bit under what they should be, but because of the loyalty of those people, they've chosen not to go to other places. We do not have much of an attrition rate. We mainly, those that choose to work there basically stay there. And on a couple of occasions, we had some thought the grass was green on the other side of the fence, so they go that way, and it's very soon, a month, 2 months later, call, can I come back? Rather work there in Berkeley County. So they got a desire to work here and do a good job, and I'm proud of the men and women that we have, very much.
You want to make a final comment on that?
I think it's a good job. You know, there's been excellent jobs this year with several different officers and deputies that have done things like that. So the hand-to-hand officer that was involved in the car chase and involved in a shooting, not a shooting, but a car chase where the car flipped and everything, he went from immediately chasing them to wanting to do that. So I think that's, you know, it's in us. That we police officers do that because that's their drive, you know, so they're all good.
With that, I'm going to make a final comment, and then we'll thank the sheriff and the challenger. The sheriff's department, along with other agencies in this county, operate on a budget that's controlled by county council. And it's imperative to everybody that these agencies work well, and yet they're constrained sometimes by leadership. So my comment is that leadership matters. Leadership in every office. Leadership in each individual office. But mostly at the top. Because leadership comes from the top down. As a Republican, I hope that we always have challengers for every office. All the time. Incumbents don't like to hear that. But as Republicans, we really ought to just celebrate that, because when we have really good, credible candidates in each office, we get better and better and better at leadership. When we don't, our leadership begins to fall. So I think, saying that, I want to thank both gentlemen here for being here today. I think it's been very informative. If you would, please give them a warm Our next meeting, hold on a second. Our next meeting is March 1st. We should be back.